Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Bits and Pieces NYC. Here, bit by bit, piece by piece, we explore all things Caribbean, all things Caribbean American, and all things New York. This evening, we've got a very special guest, a Guyanese star, a Guyanese legend in the making, Miss Chelsea Edghill. Chelsea, welcome to Bits and Pieces. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm fine. Just enjoying New York.
Just enjoying New York. All
Yes.
right. Um, with us too is our coach, Edie Lewis, um, a close friend, an alumni, Jackie Smart, and we've invited our Antiguan brother and his sprinter with us, Mr. Tahir Walsh. Jackie, can you go ahead and introduce Chelsea for our audience?
Well, Chelsea is one of my British Bishop High School alums, the younger ones who she's my niece, I would say. Chelsea is a phenomenal tennis player who has represented Guyana in numerous venues, the Commonwealth Games, she's been the Caribbean champion, and now she's our Olympian. And I think she's doing phenomenally and will continue to do so. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys this evening. So I know this is going to be a phenomenal interview.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jackie. All right. I will go to the coach first, Mr. Edie Lewis. Edie, we're going to come, we have to speak about the Olympics and we will speak about the Olympics, but tell us, what are the plans for the immediate future?
As far as the immediate, first of all, good night to the listeners, the viewers. Thank you so much for having us. To answer your question, for the immediate future, I think we got a couple of days left in New York. A couple of days with our family and friends.
Right.
We go to Guyana. I think we leave on Sunday. So yes, you gotta do the press and all that stuff. And when that's done, I guess I have a meeting with the president, Mr. Godfrey Monroe, and the guarantee of the executives, and then from there, we'll chart where do we go next and what do we do for the future.
Okay, great. Chelsea, what are you hoping the near future will be like for you?
I'm hoping that the near future includes a meeting, as he would say, would suggest, and a plan moving forward. And also, just a sense of like the things that I would like to accomplish, or what my team, that would include the association and everybody, would want us to accomplish in the future.
Okay. I'm going to probe a little. What would you like to accomplish for the near future?
For the near future, I think my focus would be shifted towards the professional leagues and also the pro tours. So I have my mind, set on those key elements of my career, and just solidifying where I will play and where I will practice for the future. So that, in that sense, that would be like a good place to start and to work towards.
Okay, great. Mr. Christoph, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Having you here.
Yes. Let me apologize for 10 minutes late. I was driving
to get here. That's all right. I mean, in the virtual world, you're never quite late, So don't worry about it. All right. Where did Edie go? I think he stepped out. All right. Yes, we're going to move on to the Olympics. All right. Now, this one is for you, Chelsea. You are you are there at the table. Your opponent from Fiji, Yi, she's across from you. You're about to serve for the first time. So now you know it's real. Now you know that it's no longer a dream, right? You're there at the Olympic Games. You're representing your country, and you're about to play your first match. If you want to know what's going on in your mind, what's going through your body, we want you to take us to that moment. All right. I'm going to give you 20 seconds or so to gather your thoughts, right? And on bits and pieces, Chelsea, don't be afraid to embellish your story a little. You're from GT, you're from Guyana, so, you could spit in some sweet things, All right, but take us to that moment. I'm going to give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts. For all the viewers, thank you for joining us. We're speaking with table tennis star and Olympian Chelsea Edghill this evening. Please remember to like, share the broadcast, call a friend, tell a friend, that a table tennis star is with us, and we'll be back with you shortly.
And then cheer to.
Okay, we're back. You're on to Bits and Pieces NYC. So we're talking to Olympian Chelsea Edger. Chelsea, you're there, and like we say, you realize, your hand, the racket is in your hand, the ball is in your hand, and you realize it's no longer a dream. All right, you're definitely a part of history. Tell us what's going through your mind at that moment.
I think it started a little before that for me. It was,
Okay.
We had the walkout, for it because it was the first match to open the games for table tennis. So, they had the big ceremony of calling your names out and stuff. But just in the waiting area, I kind of got emotional because I hadn't seen the hall for the first time. And, I got a bit teary eyed. And when we were walking out, I was trying to keep it together. But, I tried my best, but I still saw on the replay that I was crying.
Okay.
But it was, it was a surreal moment, to know that all your hard work, paid off and you're finally there and you're actually there in, at the biggest stage in table tennis. So, once I started warming up for the match and they did the toss and it was my serve, I think I was like, okay, pull it together. You got this. And, like all the fear, all the nervousness, all, everything that I was feeling just went away, and that
Right.
focus just disappeared.
Okay. Okay. Can you recall what would have led you to tears?
It was just a combination of everything. It's been years in the making. I've wanted to go to the Olympics ever since I can remember myself playing table tennis. So to finally to achieve such a goal, and then to be in that moment of where you're like, oh, I did it. I think that's the
Right.
reason I
Right.
was crying.
Okay. Okay. Sydney, as someone who would have had you would have had your own big moments. You're a former national champion, a former Caribbean champion. Um, tell us something about what that moment feels like.
Well, first of all, let me say congratulations to Chelsea and her coach. I haven't been able to officially congratulate them on this fine achievement. I think it's the first, right, for any table tennis player coming out of Guyana to reach the Olympics. I
Yeah.
myself was trying very hard. I mean, in my time, I think um, the field was a little bit harder in terms of the numbers. Like we only had 4 slots available, so to come up against Brazil and all those other countries, and then to make the top 4 was very hard. But I'm not taking away anything from Chelsea. I think she deserved to go to the Olympics. She's been training very hard, and I know one day she's gonna make it. I think this is only the start for her. No, the big moments. I mean, for me, uh, I kind of like blanked everything out. I had trained very hard. I had worked very hard, and I thought that in that moment I deserved to win or to go on to the next level because I had put in a lot of the preparation. So
Right.
the big moments came to me like naturally because I knew I was preparing a long time ago. And if you ask Kelsey, she'll tell you she's dreaming of this moment since her baby, since she was a baby or since from a young age. And so you're always preparing. And I hope that she continues in that footstep.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So, Jackie, when you would have heard that someone from the school that you would have gone to, an alum, would have made the Olympics, would have had the honor of being the first table tennis player, what went through your mind?
Well, you see, I remember Chelsea from when she used to play at Maltino's. When she was,
Okay.
Chelsea, how old were you then? About when I met you, around 11,
12.
12.
Yeah.
And Chelsea was an aggressive player from then. I
Mm.
remember we had gone with them. They were playing a tour against some people in New Amsterdam. And Chelsea was the best trash talker. I mean, when Chelsea finished intimidating the players on the other team, they were all scared to play Chelsea. It was the most hilarious thing. I was like, and she was 12. So I mean, I knew that she had that gumption, that spirit
Yeah.
in her to get to
Okay.
where she needed to be. So I
Yeah.
was not shocked at all. I just knew she got to this point. And yes, I'm not surprised. I knew she could do it because that's how she is. Her
Right.
personality, she does not give up easily. She
Mhm.
is, she would drive a saint to drink, but she'll go after that goal. This is why I
so,
love
so,
her so much. Yes, yes.
so Chelsea, with Jackie just spoke, about you were quick with your tongue. Were you in any way inspired by the great late Muhammad Ali?
I think so. I would have to say so because my dad is a huge fan, and I'd always hear him quote Muhammad Ali. So I think that kind of transcended like to how I played very young, and I don't think I am that way as an adult, as a
Mhm.
senior player. But I think I must agree with Jackie. That's how I was as a junior. I was really full of myself, as a lot of people would say.
So you kind of tamed over time.
I wouldn't say tamed. I would say more like I channeled it into the game itself. So like you'd see me
Okay.
like now a lot calmer, a little bit more reserved.
Right.
But
Right.
then if I don't know if you've seen the first match against Fiji, but the last point, I don't think anybody has seen me so aggressive, at that when I was celebrating the win.
Right. Right. I saw that. I saw that.
But you see,
I
to
saw
me, that was normal.
that. uh,
Yeah.
Tahir, you from Antigua. You tried out for the 100-meter sprint. Unlike Chelsea, you didn't quite make it to the Olympics itself. As you sit and you listen, hopefully I figure okay, next 4 years you're going to try again and you head into the Olympics, right?
Well, just a quick correction. I actually did make it in 2016 for the
Oh, you made it
4x1.
in 2016. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
this year I was trying to qualify for an individual event, which was the 100 meters, and I missed out via the world ranking system. But
Uh,
I'll definitely try to go back again in the next 3 years. Well, I still have my goals to compete as
Still
an
have your goals.
individual at the Olympics. The 4x1 is more on a team basis, so that
Right, right, right.
that individualism, it kind of still resonates in me, and I'll definitely be trying to go back in the next three
Okay,
years
okay.
to achieve that.
So can you recall your first moments on the track in 2016?
Yeah, it was,
Being there, realizing that okay, you are an Olympian.
Well, yeah, it was kind of weird for me because it took a while to really resonate because originally I was an alternate on the 4x1 team. So when I went to Rio, there was that lingering thought that it's very unlikely that well, I wouldn't say unlikely, but it's almost like a 50-50 chance that I would run or I'd just be on the sidelines waiting. But unfortunately, two of our guys got hurt during the rounds of the 100-meter and the 200-meter during the Olympics. So I was called up to actually run. So
Right,
days
right.
before the 4x1, I knew that I was going to run, but it didn't really hit. I guess
Mhm.
somewhere in my warm up when we had to go into the call room to actually go out, and that's when the adrenaline really started pumping,
Start
and
pumping.
you
Okay.
get out into the stadium now, and you're looking around, and you're seeing everybody, and yeah,
Right.
it was quite surreal because especially that year, it was I took on a bit of a risk in
Mhm.
trying to make the Olympic team, where I took a brief hiatus from school and went to
Okay.
Jamaica for 8 months
Okay.
to prepare myself. So there were times in the journey when it wasn't, looking likely, and I was wondering, wow, did I go
Right. Right.
nothing? So it was satisfying to be able to at least compete also because I was before it was confirmed that I would have I would be replacing
Mm.
my teammates to run. Yeah, I was there and I was like, am I really, an Olympian if I just came
Yeah.
here?
Are you really there? Okay.
If
I
I
get
just
that.
came
I
here,
get that.
you know.
Chelsea, as um you want we said with the match against Yi from Fiji. So you've won the first set. Um, Unfortunately for you, unlike when Tahi was in Rio, because of COVID, the restrictions around COVID, there were no crowds. But tell us, how are you feeling? Did you miss, the atmosphere, or were you in the moment?
Uh, I was in the moment. Like if I'm playing crowd or no crowd, 90% of the time I won't hear them. For the simple fact
Mm-hmm.
that I'm so focused on the match. However,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been amazing if there was a crowd, cheering me on and just watching the game. Because at the big games, that's what you look forward to. You sometimes play to the crowd and enjoy the feedback that you would get from them. But in Tokyo, I think we all understood what was happening, and we understood the seriousness of the matter, and we understood why we couldn't have the crowds, and we were just grateful to who was there, cheering us on and celebrating the win.
Right. All right. We want to move on to preparation. So I'm going to tackle you, Eddie Lewis, Chelsea's coach. So we're going to talk about preparation in a few seconds.
Okay.
Eddie, tell us about preparing for the Olympics. Tell us, about what was your approach? Eddie, did you hear me? I don't think.
I think you froze.
Yeah, he looked frozen.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
I hear you.
Eddie? Wow.
He's back in.
Eddie, you're in two places. Let me get rid of one. Hi, Eddie. Welcome back. Yeah, we wanted to move on to preparation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's around June, July. By then, you're going to be part of the Olympics. Tell us what's happening. Tell us, how did you guys prepare?
Prior to the Olympic trials, Chelsea was living and training in Portugal, and over there she had a very
I think he left.
Chelsea.
Yeah. This technology.
It is taking a beating today with this.
Yeah. Just
all right. You can start filling in even as we try to get Edie in now. Just
hi, you good?
man. This phone is just not letting me be great tonight for some reason. I mean, I don't know what's going on. But what we're saying, what we tried to do in Guyana, we tried to simulate the training that she was doing in Europe, because that's the level of training that she needed going into the Olympics, where it's like 7 to 8 hours per day, where you do a lot of physical training, a lot of table work, including a lot of multi-ball mental training. So we tried in our best to simulate that level of training for a few weeks, whilst we work out getting her out of Guyana, because Guyana it wasn't really conducive, for the level of training that she needed to perform well. So eventually we figured out, and we got her out to the ICC training facility in California.
Yeah.
Chelsea, of course, is playing a magician. He's playing Houdini with us here, Chelsea. All right, Chelsea, you can fill in.
So we simulated as much as we could in Guyana, given circumstances with COVID and the restrictions and stuff. And then we just moved. We tried our best to get back into Portugal, but with COVID, it wasn't possible. So what we did is we got to ICC, and I did all the remaining of my preparation in ICC.
Okay, great. Let me see if Eddie, you got to stop this Houdini thing, man.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, we got her out to California. We got her. Yeah, I appreciate it, Cello. You always do.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk a little about. Let's go a little into the technical side of the game. Now, I've realized that the game has changed somewhat since Sydney played. Since Sydney was a national champion. How much has it changed, Sydney?
I would say that the athletes are now well prepared. They're training much more, using a lot of multi-ball training, which helps in terms of their speed and endurance. But it hasn't changed that much. I mean, there's one or two techniques that are being used right now in terms of the technique of the hand with the banana flip and the strawberry. I don't know if you know these terms, but these are new techniques that are being used by players. But overall, I think the whole passion for the game, everything from since my time is still the same.
Right. But I was reading that like the point system, how we the point turnover,
yeah,
I
but
think it was in sets of five back in, or you would have played.
I played when it was 11 points too.
Oh, okay.
11. Okay. Maybe you're getting me mixed up with my brother, who is who also played.
Okay.
Mike. But let me say congrats to Tahir too for being an Olympian, and I would just want to mention some of the older players who have paved the way for Chelsea and myself, like George Brathwaite, who just recently passed away. The Davisons, Andrew Gosira, a host of other Guyanese players who did very well at the Caribbean level. But Chelsea has took the baton a little further, and we hope to remain in the Olympics in the next Olympics too. So, Chelsea, you got a big job to do. You got to keep flying.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Keep the golden arrowhead flying, right?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna come back. When we come back, Chelsea, we're gonna go a little into the small days. Okay, Chelsea. Let's go back to high school, Bishop's High in your instance. Um, Before I go to you, Jackie, did you play tennis back in the day?
My dad actually was a champion in England, and he used to he was building, he was in charge of building the textile mill. So he worked with a lot of Chinese, and they actually taught us how to play table tennis. Okay. So I do have some skills. I'm not at any of their levels, but I can hold my own on a table tennis table, yeah.
So, Chelsea, tell us, what was the atmosphere in school? I mean, was it a very popular game in your time? Did you have terms like Turk? Do you guys still have that term?
That's such an old term.
It's a very old term. That's what I'm after.
I would have known that term because of my father. Again, he was what you would call a table tennis Turk. But in high school, it was popular because at the time when I attended Bishop's, there were, I think, there were three of us that were on the national team for Guyana at the time in the junior team. And I was, and after my first year, I was the Caribbean champion for the under 13. And one of my classmates, he was the silver medalist in the same tournament. So it was, I would say, it was kind of popular. We were well known for table tennis, and we had that respect of our peers, because they knew how good we were. So, but in high school, it was good in the sense that everyone knew who you were, and it was fun in that aspect. Um, so high school was fun for in that aspect of things.
Right, right, right. So
And
you
then she
want you.
also brought your house out of the doldrums, you
Oh,
know.
come
Oh.
on.
So Tahir in Antigua, would table tennis be a popular sport?
Not really. Not that I know of. I don't think the sports that usually dominate in Antigua would be, cricket, athletics, football, and
Mm,
basketball in a sense, and swimming. So there's
right.
much of a that much people playing table tennis. I'm not even sure if there's an association that governs table tennis in Antigua actually.
Okay. Okay. Chelsea, to your knowledge, what other Caribbean countries would have been in the table tennis at the
Us.
Olympics?
Oh, for so in English speaking Caribbean, there were no others
There
for
were no.
table tennis.
Okay. Okay.
And for the Caribbean as a whole, it was Cuba and Puerto Rico. Those two were represented at the Olympics. Puerto
Okay.
Rico had one boy and one girl, and
Mhm.
Cuba had also one boy and one girl.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Good. Now, in terms of the atmosphere at the games, in terms of the camaraderie amongst between athletes from different countries, how would you describe that?
So given that it's COVID, everyone
Hmm.
wasn't like as friendly because everybody
Okay.
was trying to stay cautious, and as you
Right.
would know, there were reports of COVID within the village, so everyone was
Right.
trying to
Definitely.
stay keep their distance and stuff. But when I was at the training center, some players from Egypt, and one of them finished fifth in the singles event,
Hmm.
approached me to even practice with me. So in that sense, that was incredible for me because I didn't expect them even to approach me and ask for a practice. And so
Right. Right.
in that aspect, it was really the camaraderie was good. But given COVID, a lot of the usual camaraderie that there would be, people just approaching you just to have a conversation and find out where you're from and that kind of thing, there was
Uh-huh.
less of that at these games.
Okay. 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 All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. You're listening to Chelsea Edghill, our Olympian, our table tennis star, our legend in the making, and we'll be back shortly. Sydney, in terms of weapons, for those of us who may not have been following the game as much, what are the key weapons for a table tennis player?
Well, first of all, before I answer the question, I just want to step back a little bit, if you permit
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of battery. Sorry. I'm running out of battery. Just give me 1 second.
Have your charger.
All right, that's all right. Chelsea, you can go ahead and talk about
I got some battery issues.
Um,
Getting some.
wep- Weapons for table tennis athletes, I would say, our legs, the strength in our legs and our core. It's not so much, the table work at this point because everyone's expected to be good
Mhm.
and to have that because after some years your technique and stuff would be on point. But a major weapon now is the strength in your legs and the strength
Right.
in your core and the strength in your shoulders so that you can keep up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about your serve in a second. All right. How did you develop your serve?
I think that had to been from like a really young age. I really, gravitated towards having effective serves. I think that came from some of the teachings of Mr. Godfrey Munro, who's now the president of the Guyana Table Association, and he was also an national player and national champion as well. So, he would come during the summers and tell us, the importance of serves. And I was from maybe 11, 12, very mesmerized by his serves. Um, and ever since then, it became like a major part of my game. And, being able to, impart and make effective services, to trick my opponents up, I think for me, that's where, my love of serving came from.
Okay. Okay. Sydney, I was
Yes,
just asking.
sorry.
That's all right. I was just asking Chelsea about the serve, right? How big is the serve as a potential weapon in table tennis?
It's very big. Just like we look at table tennis as physical chess, just like in chess, where the opening in chess helps you to control the rally, right, or helps you to control the game. The serve in table tennis helps you to control the rally. So if you have a good serve, you can control the rally, and then you can control your opponent. So the first few balls in a match are very important. The serve, the return, and then the follow-up, right? The follow-up ball. So you were asking me about different weapons. I mean, now in today's game, the serve and return, as well as the connecting shot, is very important, because they did a study with the top level players, and the average rally when they look at all the matches was about 3 to 4 balls. The average rally, like 60% of the time, the rally was like 3 or 4 balls. So I mean, that's where the serve becomes very important.
Okay. And what other weapons? What other weapons would you say they are?
Well, you must be able to attack and use the counter attack, right, against your opponent. In today's game, I see a lot of that happening, where the players are counter attacking and you hardly like playing defensive like blocks. But there are a few still around. The block is still relevant. The push is still relevant, but they're doing a lot of attacking shots. Even from your serve, they're starting the point with the flip or the strawberry or the banana. Chelsea would know more of that. But I just wanted to step back a little bit, as I said. And, you were referring to the Turk. I don't know if you were referring to Chelsea as the Turk. But in my
no, I wasn't referring to Chelsea as the Turk. I was just recalling, between myself and Jackie, that back in our time, that was a big, tennis Turk, right? Because back in the day, we had couple tables in the hall and thing, right? I didn't hear that.
Wasn't necessarily a good player.
No, well, of course, right? The Turk was just somebody with a racket who wanted a game. All right, so back in our time, every midday, every lunchtime, a set of guys would be running to go and knock forth on the table, and you play on that line. Eddie, I see you back with us.
Ask him a question quick before he.
Man.
Yeah, we were just talking about weapons and potential weapons in tennis, and I had showed a brief clip of one of Chelsea's serves. So I'll show it again, and you can break it down for us. Yeah, Eddie, break down that star for us.
I actually I didn't see it.
Oh, you weren't able to see it?
No.
Just imagine how wonderfully she served in your mind.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I don't have to see it to answer the question because I actually play with Chelsea a lot, and a lot of the
Okay.
times even I don't know what's even I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. A lot of times when their serve is very it's
Okay.
very deceiving and it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely
Right.
dangerous. So
Okay.
it's hard for me to figure it out sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Chelsea, as an athlete, as a Guyanese, as a Caribbean athlete, give me your own experience. Give me your years in the table tennis field. How do you think we in the Caribbean can, better work together to help our fellow athletes?
She's silent.
Chelsea,
I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, you guys can hear me now.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I think the first part of your question, my experience in the Caribbean. Well, I started playing in the Caribbean when I was like 9. So in that aspect, my first 2 years was a bit, rocky in the sense of I was just finding my way around the arena in the Caribbean. In my 11th, 12th, to 13th year, I started to find myself and my strides as it pertains to the Caribbean competition and stuff. And after I won my first Caribbean title, I think from then I just catapulted and became really comfortable in the Caribbean and really, like strong in the sense of being one of the main competitors for a title. By the time I was 16, I would say that winning a senior title at the Caribbean Championships with and that was in doubles. That was a really huge feat for me, and to continue, achieving some of the goals that I set out in the Caribbean by the time I was 21. So my journey hasn't been too bad in that aspect of navigating the Caribbean. However, over the years, I've seen that the level in the Caribbean has started to dwindle. Part for two reasons: that some countries aren't as funded as it would like to be, and two, the stronger countries pulling out of the competitions and leaving to go to other regions to participate and play. So we have a problem there, whereas the level of competition is starting to just decrease because the best players aren't coming anymore, and then the other countries aren't properly funded. So with that being said, what can be done? One, maybe the stronger players remain playing in the Caribbean tournaments. I know it's a disservice to them, but it is the region that they're supposed to play in. And also, two, that other associations and regional bodies come together to ensure that there are structures in place so that these other teams can be funded.
Okay. Thank you. Sydney, you've been involved sports at a very high level for some time. Cricket, as you know, is the only thing we play as a unit in the Caribbean.
Right.
But I do think that there might be ways in which we can still help each other in other disciplines.
Correct.
How in your view, briefly, how do you think how do you think we should approach that?
Yeah, I think for like countries like Guyana, and now we have Chelsea at the Olympics, we should have like a professional or semi-professional league, right?
Okay.
Bring the top players from across the world, especially we can have a Guyana Open, and I know I would be working with Chelsea for us to have that a Guyana Open where we bring the best players from the world, right? Because as she said, there's a shortage of good players who are leaving. It just costs a little bit of money. We put in a little bit of money and run the tournament for the best players across the world. and the Caribbean region would benefit. Of course, Guyana would benefit. Tourism would benefit. A lot of things would happen around that. For cricket, as you said, there's the CPL, right? And you see how much that is generated, right? So
Right, right.
we can also do something like that for other sports, table tennis. We can do a little bit of professional league to help.
Yeah. Okay.
Tamir,
So
what do you
here,
think? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Tahir, you involved in sprinting, you were involved in cricket. What's your take on all this? How can we better help each other? You know, as
Well,
a
yeah,
league.
I totally agree. One way, especially in the Caribbean and as it pertains to athletics, especially the issue a lot of athletes have had in Antigua is for a while we didn't really have access to a certified athletics facility. And one thing I have really advocated for a lot is for the countries in the Caribbean to really try to like have their own circuit, because especially now that the World Athletics, the governing body for athletics, has implemented the new world ranking system where your times, well, to qualify for events such as the Olympics and the World Championships, it depends on the level of the meet that you compete in. Whereas as a Caribbean unit, we can now come together and put together like a proper circuit where regional athletes can go and compete against each other, and even invite athletes from other countries to to boost the level of the field and boost the level of the competition, so that people's performances could, carry more weight on the world ranking stage. I know Alian Pompey, your compatriot, she has been doing a
Right.
really good job of having the Alian Pompey Invitational. I've had the pleasure of competing at her invitational, and I think
Okay.
that's going down the right lines in terms of she's really trailblazing, started that, and I think that other countries should really push. I know Grenada, they would normally have a few meets. Trinidad used to have the Hampton Games. It hasn't been as big as it used to be in the
Yeah.
past. I think coming together as a West Indian unit, and having more events, and not even just for athletics, just to really, as you say, for table tennis, to to boost the sport in other countries. Antigua, there's not much of a presence, but a little exposure, you never know
Right.
what talent you can unearth in different countries once you start exposing people to the sport.
Okay. Thank you, Tahir. All right. You're watching Bits and Pieces. Our special guest this evening is Olympian Chelsea Edghill. And we're coming down to the close. It has been a real pleasure having you. Eddie, early on I asked about the future, the immediate future. I mean, I know we are in the age of COVID. There are a few things that will have to be left unanswered. But paint a little picture for us. Say, I think it's the Los Angeles is the next game. I'm not too sure. But next 4 years, where do you guys want to be by the
3
time?
years. Three
Yes,
years.
well, it's going to be 3 years now. By the time we go to the next Olympics. Don't tell me ED's frozen again.
Yes.
Yes, he has.
Okay, Chelsea, then what do you think
Chelsea,
about heading to
Um,
Paris? Yeah.
so for the next 3 years, of course, my goal, not of course, but my goals for the next 3 years are to try and to qualify again for the 2024 Olympics in Paris. But
Mhm.
before then, I have a few other goals in mind of accomplishing. One would be to totally transform, the level that I'm playing at now, to one which is highly competitive against the top 100 players in the world.
Okay.
Yes, 3 years is a short amount of time, I would say, because we're almost
Mhm.
into the second year, to count down, and it's something that I would like to do, and something I would always want to accomplish. I would say it's my last goal for the sport, is carrying such a level that I'm able to compete against the best players in the world. And so, but besides that, I have some goals of winning, a Latin championships, the women's open, the women's singles Caribbean championship title, and also maybe Pan American Games. All the big games. It's a goal of mine to either win or medal at these big games, and that would put me on the right path to 2024 in Paris.
All right. So we're going to close off, Chelsea, with a few bits. And go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead, Chelsea. We're going to close off with a few bits and pieces from you. Now, what's Chelsea's favorite Guyanese food?
Curry chicken or cook-up.
Curry chicken and cook-up. And what, did you ever combine the two?
Come on, let's not do that. No.
Jackie, Chelsea, if you go party in Guyana, I mean, it's party food. Sometimes when they serve you, it's a little cook-up, a little chow mein, and a little curry.
Ask Jackie. I'm the type of person, I'll go get one thing, eat that one thing, and then come back and get something else. Like, I wouldn't do, no. That's just wrong. No, that's just wrong. No, you saw me last Saturday. I went and I got one thing, and then went back and got the other thing. No.
What's your favorite fruit?
Strawberries.
Strawberries. Wait, you're American. Okay, on that note, I will ask
mango. Okay, my favorite Guyanese fruit, mango, for sure. Mango, a green mango. It can't be any regular. A green mango.
She like the stuff with pepper and salt and things.
Yes, it ought to be green.
Okay, and what's your favorite reality show to watch?
I don't really have reality shows. I don't like watching reality shows.
You don't like, so you don't have any of those guilty pleasures, all right?
No.
Chelsea, it's been real nice having you. It's been a pleasure meeting and speaking to you, and we do wish you success moving forward. And thank you again for representing us at the level that you have. And we hope to see much more of you moving forward. Tahir, thanks for coming on board and joining us.
You're welcome.
Idi, I'm going to create a virtual magic show, and I'm going to invite you to join us. Sydney, thanks a lot for bringing your experience to the table. Jackie,
thank you too. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to highlight all the talent that we have. In Guyana.
Right. If you want to say something to close, I want to give you that opportunity, Edie.
He went off.
Yeah, I think he's lagging.
Miss Smart, nice meeting you too.
Oh, nice meeting you too. Thank you. Nice meeting you too, Tahir.
Nice meeting you.
It's nice meeting you guys.
All right, so thank you all for listening in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back here tomorrow for another edition of Bits and Pieces. Chelsea, thank you so much again, and congratulations
so much for having me.
From Bits and Pieces. Jackie, want to say anything before we close?
Well, I thank you for being able to put this together. Rather quickly. So, as Chelsea, thank you for being willing to do the interview. So that would be, this is my boy, I got to make sure my bits and pieces are represented.
I think Edie is back.
Hi, Edie.
Edie, do you want to say something in closing, Edie?
Hey.
No.
Hey. Hey, thanks for having me. It was a whole lot of fun, for the few seconds I was involved. Nothing.
All right, sir. Okay, folks. Good night and
Good
thanks
night.
a lot. All
Good
right.
night.
Hello? Not-